Inniu ar cúig go láid bhharrta 2016 is lá anspecialta é seo sa chlár comór céad bliain.
Today, March 15th, 2016, is a very special day in the 1916 Centenary programme.
Inniu beidh gascoil an éireann ag ordaí bratach na hÉireann go bródú agus ag léamh forógra ní déag sé déag.
Today, every school in Ireland will proudly raise our national flag and read the 1916 Proclamation.
Cosimiid súil siar ar na himachtaí a tharla in ní déag sé déag agus déanamid macnamh ar cad a tharla le linn an tréimhse sin.
Today, we look back at the events of 1916 and reflect on what happened during those days.
Inniu ceiliúrmid ar an ngáscaí cultúra tríbhán na hailrónaíochta, rinca gaelach, ceol tradiisiúnta agus filiach na staire.
Today, we celebrate our cultural achievements through song, dance, music and poetry.
Agus inniu, déanamid ordóchtaí a chailú don céad glún eile tríbhán forógra nua a léamh atá curtha le chéile ag scoláirí na scoile seo.
And today, we reimagine our future for coming generations through a reading of our new proclamation.
And is cuireamid fáilte ó gachtainna an seo don ceiliúr a éirí amach na cóiste ag gláis de Sancta Maria. I dosach bara cloisiimid ranú páirt agus rialana tradiisiúnta agus an sin cloisiimid a sin tramtú ar imachtaí na hairí amach 2016 trí thuúla na níní a bhí an.
Welcome everybody to Santa Maria College's Proclamation Day celebrations. To begin, we will hear a selection of traditional reels and jigs, followed by a dramatic retelling of the events of the people who were there.
I read the proclamation outside the GPO. Myself and members of the Irish Republican Brotherhood planned the rising. I was interested in the heritage and history of Ireland at an early age and joined the Gaelic League when I was 21 years old. The purpose of the League was to promote Irish tradition and language, and it was very much part of the revival of Gaelic. Consciousness took place at the turn of the century. I am an enthusiastic member and became editor of the League's newspaper on Clive Sullis, The Sword of Light. Though I support Home Rule, I was a founder member of the Irish Volunteers, who were becoming the Irish Republican Army. Ireland must be free of Britain. The young people of the nation must shed blood by fighting the British. We need to be a nation once again. Ireland unfree should never be at peace.
Irish men and Irish women, I have a question. What kind of Ireland do you want? Do you want Ireland to be merely free of British imperialism, to be free and socialist too? We could create an Ireland where all children are cherished equally. My fight for equality did not just start in 1916, but over 20 years ago as a young man in Scotland. I am James Connolly, a son of Irish immigrants who lived in poverty in Edinburgh. It has been a long fight as I even travelled to America to campaign for workers there too. 4 years ago in 1912 I worked with Jim Larkin to organise the largest strike by workers in Dublin, but we were suppressed by the likes of William Martin Murphy and other capitalists who wanted to keep workers as slaves. After that I decided to found the Irish Citizens Army to defend workers and strikers, an equal army for both men and women. As a matter of fact, it was the Citizens Army that helped spark off the rising. We were the only ones attempting to break British power in Ireland until Tom Clark and Pork Pierce talked me out of them until now. On Easter Monday I gathered at the Liberty Hall with the Citizens Army. I moved on to the GPO where I was overall commander of the army. I want to fight for an Irish Socialist Republic where workers were free from greedy capitalists. I want to create an Ireland where all people could be equal without fear or prejudice. I wanted to build an Ireland where working class Catholics and Protestants could unite like my sweet Lily and I did. Unfortunately, I was badly wounded in the leg in the rising and I was executed while strapped to a chair. However, you can keep the spirit of 1916 alive. In 2016, what kind of Ireland do you want?
Ireland's day has finally come. We can taste our freedom as we fight for Ireland. I believe that the proclamation read out by our brave leader, Pork Pierce, will create a Gaelic Ireland that will be free from British tyranny. I had the opportunity to fight alongside the other Irish soldiers in the GPO who sacrificed their lives for the great and glory of Ireland. Pierce had told us that the shedding of our blood is the sacrifice for Ireland, that our memory will live on as we brave the lives for Ireland. In my time in Centenary School, Thomas MacDonagh, Pork and William Pierce inspired me to fight for this nation. As a result, I became active in the Catholic Church, Gaelic League and the GAA, so that I'll be ready to serve Ireland and help create a Gaelic Ireland when we are free. Under British rule, we have suffered and lost our identities. The British attack us, but we will never give up. They may be fighting in Europe, but we see it as England's difficulty is Ireland's opportunity. They may have a huge army of men, but we have an army that has more courage. We will never give up until Ireland is free. We will be able to create an Ireland where everyone speaks our native language, an Ireland where heroes such as Fionn McCool will be celebrated, and an Ireland where people will be able to farm on their lands in peace. We can build an Ireland that future generations can be proud of. Let's build that new Ireland together.
I saw Mrs. Foster across the road, wheeling baby Sean, and then I heard noises that came from nowhere. I didn't know at the time, but these noises were gunshots, and as I stood stock still on the opposite side of the road, those bullets had ripped their way to the blanket his mother had knitted for him and found his little body. I had often played with Sean. He was a gorgeous little boy who lived 2 doors down, and I couldn't understand what had happened and what was happening to my home, my Dublin. I was 14 and afraid of what the world had become. It was war. One day they said that crazed men and women were going to bring the anger of the British Empire down on our heads. The next day at the dinner table, those men and women were our heroes. I didn't know what to think. All I could think about were my friends. Were they okay? Whose side were they on? Could we see each other soon? When could we go back to school? I wasn't allowed out after what had happened to baby Sean. My mother cried all day, and I told her when she looked, and she looked at me and whispered in my ear, "I'm so glad that you're safe." I hugged her and I said a prayer for Sean and all the other children out there, but I did not fall asleep for a long time that night.
What is going on? That is what we all asked.
We all thought it was the Huns that were bombing the city. Little did we know it was the rebels. People usually didn't take any heed of the nationalists, but that has all changed now. The city went into complete chaos where people started to loot from the shops. I must say I'm guilty of doing the same, but we were poor and we saw our opportunity. It was when the British came in and took control of areas when it became deadly serious. The city was under martial law. The British Army destroyed Liberty Hall by a gunboat called the Helga that sailed up the Liffey. That was a massive boat, but it showed that the British wanted to take control of the situation. They were right, I suppose. The rebels have caused a lot of damage to the city. Eventually they surrendered as they knew they couldn't keep going on. We threw rotten vegetables at the rebels as they marched past us in surrender. We thought they were a disgrace for allowing all this to happen. Now they are starting to execute them, which I don't agree with at all. It is a terrible shame how it all turned out. I don't know what will happen now. All I know is that Ireland will never be the same.
Who am I? You can't remember me in the 1916 Easter Rising, nor should you, for history has me down as nobody. Nobody remembers who I am or why I should be talking to you today, but I am somebody. I am a mother, or should I say I was a mother. My young boy was killed on the streets of Dublin. I told him to wait inside, but not my Johnny. He was fascinated by the stories of Verdun or some godforsaken place in France. Stories of guns and fighting Huns, for his own father went out there encouraged by Redmond. Johnny's father was not in favour of war, but we needed money. So off he went. They said it would be over by Christmas. He is now dead. He got shot in the head by the Hun. The news came in a letter that I couldn't even read. I had to get Father Flanagan to read it to me. I couldn't tell Johnny. No way. He thought his father was the bravest man in the world. I should have told him. If I did, he wouldn't have wanted to go out to see the fighting outside the GPO. It's my own fault. I don't know exactly what happened to Johnny, but I do know he was shot. An innocent boy of 10 years, shot like a criminal, then left to die on the side of the road, just an innocent child, sacrificed. He is now buried 6 feet down without a headstone, without a name, just another nobody in Irish history.
What will become of us now, I wonder? I clench my teeth and I'm determined that no one will say that I walked out shaking like a leaf in a storm. Some will jeer at the men for sending me, a woman, out to do their dirty work for them, that they are hiding behind my skirts, hoping my female form will evoke some pity in the eyes of the British soldiers. But it is not the case. We could see that our battle was over. We barely managed to get out of the GPO before it was consumed by the flames, nursing the wounded as best as we could. I and the other 2 remaining women from Cummin did what was needed as the Council of War took place in Gormans in Moore Street. I say the battle is over, but not the cause, which is only beginning. Sean McDermott came downstairs and requested I get him a white flag. I was to go with a verbal message from Commandant Pearce to the commander of the British forces. I thought little of this task for me at the time. It was another job and I would do it. There was no fuss made. We were in this together. I rejoice every time I hear the words of Proclamation ringing in my ears. Irish men and Irish women together, brother and sister, forging a family of equals. The English soldiers cut the red crosses off my nursing uniform when they let me through the barricade. I was deemed a spy, but they listened to me. What they thought of me was hidden in their expressions, and I travelled back and forth between the 2 parties over the next few hours, exchanging messages between one government and the other. It soon snowballed into delivering the message to lay down arms to most of our strongholds. It was a bizarre ritual of being driven so far and then having to take my life in my hands as I heard the bullets whiz past. Some commanders took the news like the good soldiers they were. Others accepted it less graciously. I was to be detained. Pearce asked if this was acceptable to me. I said it was, and we shook hands. I was then a guest of the British Army, stripped and searched, but some English officers I encountered were courteous and obliging. As a nurse, my job is to care for those in need and to preserve life. I cannot say that the last few days have not challenged my beliefs in that regard, but I am proud to have served. I am proud to be an Irish woman, and the days of my life.
Mine is not a name to be remembered or recorded in history. but my actions are certainly remembered. News reached us at Kilmainham Gael late on Saturday, April 29th, that the feeble attempt at overthrowing British rule had failed. The Irish insurgents had surrendered after less than a week. Laughable, really. They would have to pay for causing trouble when Britain already had enough to deal with abroad. General Maxwell court-martialed the leaders, and they were to be executed here at Kilmainham. A nice ending for these foolish men. I heard that as these men were brought through the streets of Dublin, that the city people heckled and spat at them. No surprise. They have, of course, destroyed their city. And for what? They are no more nearer to a free Ireland than they were the day they were born. Death by firing squad is the best thing for them. Show any others with similar ridiculous ideas that they too will suffer. On May 3rd, I stood in Stonebreaker's yard with my 11 fellow marksmen. Major Heathcote's commanding voice booming, rifles at the ready. A white cross was affixed to the heart of this Porrick Pierce fool. Easier to keep our aim correct, do the job right. Ready, aim, fire. Gone. One by one until May 12th, we extinguished the leaders of this attempted rising. Only one execution had a slight impact on me, on that last day, but only slightly. James Connolly, a leader, so they say, a name on their proclamation. He had managed to get himself wounded, his leg, gangrene. We shot him as he sat tied to a chair, not the ideal situation. I felt a certain sense of pity, but I had a job to do after all, orders to follow. We have heard whispers that the Irish are very angry at the executions. What else are we to do? Let's hope that our actions have put an end to this nonsense of wanting home rule or a republic.
Gurmagat. Next we will see some Irish dancing, followed by a piece about our Irish culture read by Emily Gavin. Despite our small size, both geographically and in terms of population, our culture is well known and embraced throughout the world. We have the Irish language, dancing, storytelling and traditional music, all of which should be celebrated, not just during big events like the 1916 Rising commemorations, but in our everyday lives. Our tradition of storytelling and folklore boasts a great deal of characters and myths, from the pot of gold held by the small leprechaun to the great warrior of Cuchulainn, to the stories of Tír na nÓg. Our Irish culture has brought countless stories to life.
This tradition of storytelling cannot be separated from the Irish tradition of music. Using songs to tell a story or to honour an event in history is a commonplace practice in our culture. Our traditional instruments, such as the uilleann pipes, whistles, fiddles and barons, are merged with modern instruments to carry on this tradition to the 21st century. The songs of Ireland, both in English and Oscailga, represent the diversity of our country, and from region to region, singing these songs are a commonplace tradition at local and family gatherings. Irish dancing has been a part of the childhood of almost every Irish person. Learning the 1, 2, 3s and taking part in fetches was something so many people look forward to. Irish dancing competitions are held worldwide, proving just how influential the culture of our little country has been. Our proud tradition of Gaelic football, camogie and hurling has millions of players and followers of both genders throughout the world. All-Ireland Sunday in Croke Park and winning the elusive Sam Maguire is a dream for so many, a dream which one day we in Mayo will soon realise. St. Patrick's Day is practised globally. Clovers and Celtic harps are easily recognised symbols of Irish culture. From the popularity of Irish-themed pubs and restaurants serving bacon and cabbage to Irish music heroes like Thin Lizzy and U2, it is clear that there is something very strong and special about our Irish way of life.
Now we ask Ray Salmon to read Easter 1916 by W.B. Yeats, a political poem in which Yeats expresses his views on the Rising. Nicole O'Malley will play Foggy Dew.
Easter 1916 by W.B. Yeats. I have met them at the close of day, coming with vivid faces, from counter or desk among grey 18th century houses. I have passed with a nod of the head, or polite, meaningless words, or have lingered a while and said polite, meaningless words, and thought before I had done of a mocking tale or a jibe, to please a companion around the fire at the club. Be certain that they and I, that lived where motley is worn, all changed utterly, a terrible beauty is born. That woman's days were spent in ignorant goodwill, her nights in argument until her voice grew shrill. What voice more sweet than hers, when young and beautiful, she rode to harriers. This man had kept a school, and rode our winged horse. This other, his helper and friend, was coming into his force. He might have won fame in the end, so sensitive his nature seemed, so daring and sweet his thought, this other man I dreamed. A drunken, vainglorious lout, he had done most bitter wrong. To some who are near my heart, yet I number him in the song. He too has resigned his part in the casual comedy. He too has been changed in his turn, transformed utterly. A terrible beauty is born. Heart to own purpose alone, through summer and winter seen, enchanted to a stone, to trouble the living stream. The horse that comes from the road, the rider and the birds that range. From cloud to tumbling cloud, minute by minute they change. A shadow of cloud in the stream changes minute by minute. A horse who slides in the brim, and a horse plashes within it. The long-legged moorhens dive, and hens to moorcocks call. Minute by minute they live, the stones in the midst of it all. Too long a sacrifice can make a stone of the heart. Oh, when may it suffice, that is heaven's part, our part. To murmur name upon name, as a mother names her child, when sleep's at last has come, on limbs that had run wild. What is it but nightfall? No, not night, but death. Was it needless death after all? For England may keep faith. For all that is done and said, we know their dream enough to know they dreamed and are not dead. And what if excess of love bewildered them till they died? I write it out in a verse, MacDonagh and McBride, and Connolly and Pearse. Now in time to be, wherever green is worn, are changed utterly, a terrible beauty is born.
The 1916 Rising may have been organised and led by men, but we must not forget the role of women who made the Rising what it was. Monica Burke will tell us about the role of women in 1916.
Women of 1916. The Irish Republic is entitled to, and hereby claims, the allegiance of every Irish man and Irish woman. 300 women participated in the 1916 Rising in a variety of roles, but many of their contributions went unacknowledged for decades. They came from all classes and from all parts of the country. They were shop assistants, dressmakers, teachers, clerks, working alongside artists, actresses, and a doctor. Many of the women who took part in the rising remained politicised during the Civil War. There were up to 100 of them among the prison population of more than 1,000 women in jails, including Kilmainham, where some had been imprisoned for days following the rising. On the day of the rising, 40 Cumann members entered the General Post Office on O'Connell Street in Dublin with their male counterparts. The women in the rebel garrisons fought alongside the men and were not confined, as is commonly believed, to nursing duties or other tasks traditionally assigned to women, such as making tea and sandwiches for the fighting men. Members also gathered intelligence on scouting expeditions, carried dispatches, and transferred arms across the city to insurgent strongholds. It should be noted that all over the country, in small towns and remote rural areas, women from all walks of life were hiding men who were on the run, organising fundraising events and risking life and limb in the fight for freedom. And all the while they fed and cared for their children and trying to maintain some semblance of normal family life. In the years that followed, women played a high-profile role in the fledgling republic. 6 women deputies were elected to the first Dáil of May 1921. 43 women were also returned to borough and district councils. Kathleen Clark, the first female Lord Mayor of Dublin, was elected in this period. Women also served as judges in the Sinn Féin courts between 1919 and 1921. All of these developments for women were revolutionary when compared with a lot of women elsewhere in Europe at the time. However, as the country descended into civil war in the early 1920s, the newly founded Free State effectively airbrushed those women from historical accounts of the rising and their sacrifices for the state. It is perhaps unsurprising, as has been highlighted in recent EU-wide research, that Irish women still remain underrepresented in all walks of Irish life, from the houses of the Oireachtas to the judiciary, the public services, and across many Irish industries. By revisiting the role that Irish women played in the Easter Rising, we may gain some insights into the roles that women and other marginalised citizens play, or are discouraged from playing, in contemporary Irish society.
Thank you, Paul, Monica. Now we'll have some more dancing, this time from the Clare Island set dancers. Laura Molly will then read a poem called In Memory of 1916.
1916. No more shall we linger in shadows, nor shall we suffer in silence. The time has come to begin, a new Ireland without the violence. However, we must remember the men and women who were so bold, for without their determination, a revolution would not have taken hold. They placed their lives for old Ireland, something we must not forget. As we create a new Ireland, our course is not fully set. Let's build an Ireland of fairness, a hope for every being, a new Ireland for our own making, in memory of 1916. Thank you, and also thank you to Mr. McGrail for writing the poem. Next we will call on Jim Power, who will read the 1916 Proclamation, which was of course first read by Porrick Pierce outside the GPO 100 years ago.
Irish men and Irish women, in the name of God and of the dead generations from which she receives her old tradition of nationhood, Ireland, through us, summons her children to the flag and strikes for her freedom. Having organised and trained her manhood through her secret revolutionary organisation, the Irish Republican Brotherhood, and through her open military organisations, the Irish Volunteers and the Irish Citizen Army, having patiently perfected her discipline, having resolutely waited for the right moment to reveal itself, she now seizes that moment, and supported by her exiled children in America and by gallant allies in Europe, but relying in the first on her own strength, she strikes in full confidence of victory. We declare that the right of the people of Ireland to the ownership of Ireland, and to the unfettered control of the Irish destinies to be sovereign and indefeasible. The long usurpation of that right by a foreign people and government has not extinguished the right, nor can it ever be extinguished except by the destruction of the Irish people. In every generation, the Irish people have asserted their right to national freedom and sovereignty. 6 times during the past 300 years, they have asserted it in arms. Standing on that fundamental right, and again asserting it in arms in the face of the world, we hereby proclaim the Irish Republic as a sovereign independent state, and we pledge our lives and the lives of our comrades in arms to the cause of its freedom, of its welfare, and of its exaltation among the nations. The Irish Republic is entitled to, and hereby claims, the allegiance of every Irish man and Irish woman. The Republic guarantees the religious and civil liberty, equal rights and equal opportunities to all its citizens, and declares its resolve to pursue the happiness and prosperity of the whole nation and of all its parts, cherishing all the children of the nation equally, and oblivious of the differences carefully fostered by an alien government, which have divided a minority from the majority in the past. Until our arms have brought the opportune moment for the establishment of a permanent national government, representative of the whole people of Ireland, and elected by the suffrages of all her men and women, the Provisional Government, hereby constituted, will administer the civil and military affairs of the Republic in trust for the people. We place the cause of the Irish Republic under the protection of the Most High God, whose blessing we invoke upon our arms, and we pray that no one who serves that cause will dishonour it by cowardice, inhumanity, or rapine. In this supreme hour, the Irish nation must, by its valour and discipline, and by the readiness of its children, to sacrifice themselves for the common good, prove itself worthy of the august destiny to which it's called.
As part of the 1916 commemorations, in every school in Ireland have written their own modern-day proclamation. This has been dubbed the Proclamation for a New Generation, and it sets out the idea for Ireland's future. Ours was written by our school's TY students, and I will call on Shona to read it.
Irish men and Irish women, together we, the future generations of the 21st century, embrace the ideals of our 1916 forefathers, who laid down their lives for a free republic. And in 2016, we consider our own vision of the future of Ireland through a new proclamation. As a proud nation, the preservation of our traditions and heritage is of paramount importance. We must strive to keep our native language alive for future generations. We must embrace and appreciate our Gaelic traditions in sports, music, dancing and song, and instill a lasting love for these in our younger generations. We must support Irish suppliers by sourcing local produce and balancing new technology with our traditional methods. We also welcome the traditions and cultures of those who now call Ireland home. We recognise that our country has been through many times of economic hardship, and too many of our native children have been forced to emigrate in search for employment. We hope that in the years to come, all Irish men and women have ample opportunities for employment in their homeland, should they choose so. We hope that our government recognises the importance of wage reflecting on the cost of living to prevent the horrors experienced by families currently living in poverty. As citizens of Ireland, we must keep our country as a green, beautiful place it is renowned for across the globe. Burning fossil fuels and releasing harmful gases into the air is destroying not only our country, but the world. This action cannot be put to the bottom of the pile, as it has been for the last 60 years. It needs to be addressed in the here and now, because if we don't, we put our future generations in jeopardy of living in an environment beyond repair. The health and well-being of our nation's people is of utmost importance for our future. Tackling the problems with our country's current healthcare system will require decided reform that is required by those in need of immediate professional healthcare, the people who need it the most. Furthermore, dealing with the ongoing taboo over mental health issues is made of serious priority by those in power. Our government needs to fund urgent health reforms and manage these fundings well. In doing this, we will hopefully have a far more effective system and be as healthy as a nation as we can be. As the future decision makers of our country, our education system must mirror the needs of our young people. Investment into schools is a necessity. A focus on practical subjects and work experience must become commonplace practice in all schools to ensure our students are fully prepared for the world outside of school. We declare the right of all people in Ireland to equality. As in the 1916 Proclamation, the Republic guarantees religious and civil liberty, equal rights and equal opportunities to all citizens. This stance is true now for men and women of our nation as it did then. As active Irish citizens, we must stand as one against intolerance and racism, and welcome new citizens to our shores as we were welcomed throughout the centuries. We, as the future generations, pledge to our utmost to uphold and live by these ideals, as our forefathers did before us. The island of Ireland is a home to be proud of, so we appeal to all Irish men and Irish women to live by these principles, for a peaceful, prosperous, and strong country in the future.
Who will sing a slightly different version of Uroshid Vahawala.
Sarah
great. Before we raise our national flag, Luke Barrow will tell us the history behind our flag.
Today, all schools across Ireland will, at the same time, raise our national flag as part of the Proclamation Day celebrations. So often and in a variety of places we may see our flag, take little notice and continue on with our busy lives. But today we pause to consider the history and significance of this integral emblem of our nation. The national flag of Ireland, often referred to as a tricolour, consists of three colours: green, white and orange. It was adopted as a flag of the Irish Free State in 1922. It was formally confirmed as the national flag in the 1937 Constitution. The Irish tricolour is intended to symbolise the inclusion and hopes for union of the people of different traditions on this island, which is now expressed in the Constitution as the entitlement of every person born in the island of Ireland to be part of the Irish nation, regardless of ethnic origin, religion or political conviction. A green flag with a harp was an older symbol used by Irish nationalists and was adopted by the Irish Volunteers in the 1780s and especially by the United Irishmen in the 1798 rebellion. A rival organisation, the Orange Order, which was exclusively Protestant, was founded in 1795. Following the 1798 rebellion, the ideal of the leader of a new nationalist organisation, the Young Ireland, was to make a peace between them, and if possible, to found a self-governing Ireland on peace and union. Irish tricolours were first mentioned in 1830 and 1844, but widespread recognition was not recorded until 1848. On March 7, 1848, Thomas Francis Marr, the Young Ireland leader, flew a tricolour from 33 the Mile waterfront, but was removed a week later by the authorities. In April, Marr brought a tricolour from France, presented it to a meeting in Dublin and outlined the significance of the colours. The white in the centre signifies a lasting truce between orange and green, and I trust that beneath its folds the hands of Irish Protestants and Irish Catholics may be clasped in generous and heroic brotherhood. The Irish tricolour flag was flown over the GPO on Easter Monday in 1916, along with a large green flag inscribed with the words Irish Republic. The flag captured the national imagination as the banner of the new revolutionary Ireland. The tricolour became to be accepted as a national flag and continued to be used so officially during the period 1922 to 1937. In the latter year, its position as a national flag was formally confirmed by the new Constitution, Article 7, of which states the national flag is a tricolour of green, white and orange. Numerous rules regulate the flying, displaying and placing of our national flag, and it should be treated as an article of great respect. As Thomas F. Marr stated, a national flag is the most sacred thing a nation can possess. And now we'll ask Ms. Moran to raise our national flag.
Gurmagat. We will now call everyone outside where we will raise our national flag.